Welcome to First Byte, our Detroit Lions preview podcast, playoff edition. Ryan, have we done a playoff edition? We never went back and checked if we've ever done a First Byte playoff. Is that a thing?
I think this is the inaugural. I don't think we've done one.
Oh my gosh, let's crack a bottle of champagne on this ship.
Of course.
My name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online. That other voice you hear, of course, is the senior editor of Pride of Detroit, is the rock god, is Ryan_POD on Twitter, Ryan Matthews. Ryan, how excited are you for this?
I think we're going to name this ship the SS Please God Just Win.
Please let these ulcers not solidify and make me. I mean, just like everything beyond this game is house money. Let's get there. Let's get to the house money stage.
It's the hardest stage to get to.
It is. But as all of you who have been listening all year long know, this First Byte isn't just about Ryan and I rambling about praying to the football gods out there. We like to bring on a guest from the other side of the sideline of the field. I don't know. Something like that. You'd think I'd have these intros down by week 19. But no, not at all. Anyways, it's Rams week. We need to learn more about the Rams outside of just one football player. So we got ourselves a great guest here. He is a staff writer for our friends over at Turf Show Times, of course, the Rams blog here at SB Nation. Blaine Grisak is here. Ben, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I think, coming into the year, this is a playoff matchup that everybody would have loved to see. And here we finally are, and a lot of emotions in this one, and really excited for Sunday.
Yeah, I think excited is a proper word for here over in Detroit as well, although maybe with a little bit more anxiety, because it feels like maybe the Rams are playing with a little bit of house money. If I can opine myself, maybe you feel differently, but the way that this season started, the way that maybe expectations were coming off of 2022, the Rams were 3-6 at the deadline, or at the bye week. They come out and just completely turn everything around. So before we even get to the offense versus defense stuff, can you provide some background on how that happened so dramatically?
Yeah, no, I think it's just the product of a young team kind of growing into the season. I think at roster cutdowns, I think they were the second youngest team in the NFL. I think you look at a team that was in a similar spot. You look at the Green Bay Packers. You guys are obviously very familiar with. They started 3-6 as well, and are also a playoff team. So I think it's just a product of a young team and young players sort of growing into a season. And then I think Kobe Turner, for example, he kind of started there in week 5. Kevin Dotson at right guard, the guy they traded for beginning of the year, got his first start at right guard at week 5, and they haven't looked back since. So I think it's kind of a team just kind of figuring things out. And that first half of the year and the bye, they kind of put those final pieces together, and there's 7-1 since.
Yeah, and Blaine, I think what Lions fans are trying to do, because they're trying to, maybe kind of soothe over any concerns that they might have about this red hot Rams team, or just because they see so many national pundits that are like, man, look out for the Rams. They're hot as anybody. They look at that second half of that schedule and they start poking holes, right? They're like, oh man, who've they really played? The Browns didn't have Myles Garrett. They were starting Joe Flacco for the first time. That doesn't feel like a good win. This, that, or the other thing, they played all these lesser opponents. Maybe speak to what the Rams were able to kind of clean up and how they were maybe able to mature, like you mentioned, maybe a young team, and how that kind of proved itself over the second half of the season. And maybe was it just a matter of them kind of relearning how to win, so to speak?
I think that's certainly part of it. I think really after the bye week, you kind of saw the marriage of the run and the pass in the offense. I think you look at the numbers in the first half of the season, and offensively, they were still putting good numbers, especially in EPA, but it just felt so disconnected. The run game and passing game they were still two very different things. And kind of after the bye, those things really kind of started coming together. And I think a big part of that was Kyron Williams, who I know we'll talk about a little bit later, I'm sure. But he came back off of IR, and when he came back in week 12, it's been full speed ahead. So I think you look at that, and I mean, you play who you play, I guess, in the NFL. At the time, Seattle was 6-3. They were still considered a contender at the time. The Saints, they're a fringe playoff team. The Browns, it was Joe Flacco's first start, and Myles Garrett wasn't fully healthy, but that's still a team that for the most part of the season has looked pretty darn good. So yeah, you got to play who you play, but I'd also clap back a little bit and say, who have the Lions beat in the second half of the season? I mean, Minnesota twice, also a struggling Denver Broncos team struggling to find its identity. So I think it goes both ways for sure.
No question. And by the way, I owe you an apology. I think I called you Ben at the top. It's Blaine. My fault there. But the other thing that I think Lions fans look to try to poke holes in is that Giants game. We all kind of were watching excitedly at the end of that game because it was an opportunity to maybe avoid what this matchup at the time. So what's your explanation for what went down in that game? Is it just one bad game and nothing, or I don't know. How do you explain how close that game was against obviously a Giants team that struggled this season?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just a product of Wink Martindale. I think he's one of the better defensive minds in the league, and he might not. There might not have been a lot of talent on that defense, on that Giants defense, but he was going to throw everything at you, and see how you handled it. And Stafford, if you go back to the 2021 season when Wink was with Baltimore, and that was one of Stafford's, I think, worst games. He threw 2 interceptions, one being a pick six, I think, to Chuck Clark. So it was just, I think a coordinator that kind of got to Stafford a little bit. The Rams' offensive line, they kind of struggled with protecting stunts at times this year, and you get some creative blitzes coming from you on the other side, and protections start to break down a little bit. So I think it's kind of just a mixture of a frisky Giants team and maybe Stafford and the Rams' offense just being slightly off a little bit.
Well, so Blaine, let's jump right into the meat and potatoes of our first segment. We're going to talk about the Rams offense versus the Lions defense. And we're going to start where, us as Lions fans, we're pretty familiar with the guy, Matthew Stafford. What has been the key to him kind of turning things around, maybe after kind of what could maybe be considered, a Super Bowl hangover of sorts in terms of the Rams roster getting reset and dealing with injuries himself in 2022. What has been kind of the thing that unlocked Matthew Stafford in the second half of this 2023 season?
Yeah, I think the first half, I think, is a weird case where the stats and the film didn't necessarily line up. I think you watch Stafford in that first half of the season, and you see him make these insane throws every single week, like Matthew Stafford does. And I think you go to the second half, and the throws just kind of became a little easier. I always go back to this quote from Mike LaFleur back in October. He says, just because Stafford's capable of doing a lot, you have to be very, very disciplined to make sure all guys are comfortable. So it's one of those things where, just because Stafford has all these clubs in his bag, you don't always have to use like every single club. So the first half of the season, he had a minus 5.9 completion percentage over expectation, 8.9 average depth of target. So that completion percentage over expectation ranked last at the time. Average depth of target ranked fourth. And then you go to the second half of the season, and he had a positive 1.3 completion percentage over expectation, and his ADOT was down to 7.3, which ranks 24th during that time period. So I think the throws just got a lot easier. After week 11, he only had 2 games where his ADOT was over 9 yards. So the throws became easier. They were taking the shots when they made sense, rather than going boom or bust every single play.
That's super interesting because I think, most people here in Detroit remember Matthew Stafford for the gunslingerness, right? Like the ability to chuck it downfield and go for the big play when it's there. And if there was any criticism while he was here, it was that maybe he didn't have the touch for the short yardage passing game. And so to see that part of his game has developed into kind of the identity of this offense right now is super interesting. Now, obviously, Stafford can't do it without receivers, and he's got a pair of big playmakers in Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And I use this term because I know Brad Holmes uses it all the time, and if not mistaken, Les Snead uses it all the time. What are those two guys' superpowers?
Yeah, I think when it comes to Cooper Kupp, I think it's his ability to read coverages at the line of scrimmage. They run a lot of choice traps with him, so just his deep understanding and knowing what the coverage is going to be, and knowing where to run his route, I think is his sort of superpower. And then with Puka Nacua, I think it's his ability to block in the run game. I think he's the 4th highest graded blocking wide receiver on PFF this year. He is a key cog in making that run game go. They'll bring him in motion and run him through the C gap and put him have him block up against a linebacker or safety. So he's been key in kind of turning that run game around. And yeah, that was kind of an aspect that they missed when they traded away Robert Woods, and it was probably time to trade away Robert Woods when they did, but it was definitely something that they missed, and not something that Allen Robinson did when they signed him for a lot of money. So having Puka Nacua, doing that in the run game has certainly helped him out and been his superpower.
Just like a quick follow-up, Blaine, like the Rams, they get Cooper Kupp after he, starts the season sidelined with injury, comes back. Like how quickly do those two maybe, come together and things are just working brilliantly, or was there a little bit of like a, figuring out process, or was it pretty seamless?
I think that there was a figuring out process. I mean, I think Cooper Kupp kind of came out of the gate slow when he came back from IR, but I think that's also just him and Matthew Stafford getting back on the same page. I think you guys know, like, Stafford has a tendency to kind of when he has his guy, he locks in on that guy, and so I think it just kind of took them a while to bring those two together and get them both involved in a way that it made sense.
Well, the other half of the passing game is obviously the offensive front, the offensive line. You look at some of the pressure numbers, sack numbers; they seem relatively low. And I guess from an outsider point of view, it's hard to know what's the reasoning for that. You look at some of the stats, like Matthew Stafford, I think is the fourth or fifth fastest to get the ball out of his hands. You mentioned it right now. Short yards passing game. So maybe it is like the ball's getting out there quicker, or has the offensive line taken kind of major steps since, losing some of their major players a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
The offensive line, I think, has overperformed, and it goes back to what I said earlier, and this team just kind of growing. I think you looked at this group at the beginning of the year, and it was hard to be optimistic about them. I liked what Alaric Jackson showed at times last year, but I kind of saw him more as a kind of a six man on the offensive line. Kevin Dotson was a player that the Steelers had kind of given up on, and he's playing at arguably an all-pro level since he took over in Week 5. Rob Havenstein is as solid as ever at right tackle, and Coleman Shelton is kind of replacement level at center, and Steve Avila is beyond his years at left guard as a rookie. So they've grown together as the years gone on. Over the last 4 weeks, I think they ranked second in pass blocking efficiency. So they've just grown and gotten better as the years gone on, and I think that's for this Sean McVay offense to work at its best. That offensive line needs to be playing well, as we've seen every year. That in 2021, 2017, 2018, you go back to those years, and they were one of the best units in the league during those years, and so they're playing like that right now, and it shows.
So, Blaine, I think people maybe around Detroit are a little bit concerned, maybe even myself. So, in the lead up to this matchup, thinking about, the way that the Lions have been able to generate pressure has been, Aaron Glenn has said, I'll send 5, 6, 7 dudes maybe, and get after your quarterback that way. Not exactly a recipe to pick apart Matthew Stafford. So I guess my question is, for a team like the Rams, who I believe they rank 6th in adjusted sack rate, so they've been able to keep Matthew Stafford upright. How have they been able to handle the blitz, and what have you seen maybe from Matthew in terms of his ability to react to the blitz? And I know you mentioned the Wink Martindale game against the Giants, but like maybe kind of like as a whole.
It is something that, as a whole, I think it depends on how you bring that pressure. I think if you bring it creatively and bring it from different levels and bring certain stunts and things like that, that is something that they've struggled at times to diagnose where that pressure is coming from. So I think if you can get creative with your looks and things like that, you can certainly get a couple free rushers to come through and get to Stafford. And back in 2021, he was red hot against the blitz, but I wouldn't say that's been the case this year. And I think part of that is just their ability to diagnose where that pressure is coming from. Interesting.
That maybe a little ray of hope there, Ryan.
Anything. I'll take anything.
Because obviously this is the matchup that worries the Lions the most. Is Matthew Stafford picking apart this secondary that has had issues with good quarterbacks, had issues with bad quarterbacks, had issues with really good receiving cores. But let's switch things over to the running game because they're just as dynamic there, and that makes them, at least to me, one of the more dangerous offenses the Lions have faced this season. There hasn't been a lot of teams that are as well balanced as the Rams in the NFL, outside of maybe a team like the Lions. But Kyren Williams, where did this guy come from, Blaine? Like, it seems like even Rams fans were pretty surprised by how big of a breakout he's had. So how did it happen? What makes him so special so far? And is this something that, like, the Rams now have this guy who is going to consistently challenge for the rushing title now?
Yeah, I think even going back to his rookie year, he was a guy that the Rams were really high on and they really liked. And then on the opening kickoff against the Bills, their kick returner kind of just one of those freak plays where he rolled over Kyren Williams' ankle, and that was kind of that for his rookie season. But yeah, coming into this year, they really made a lot of changes to their running game. The Rams have always been this wide zone running team, which you typically see with these Shanahan offenses. And this year they completely changed that up. They run a lot of duo. They're more of a gap power type team. They block at you rather than side to side. And that fits what Kyren Williams does. Just his shiftiness, his ability to create. I think he ranks second in yards created, 10th in missed tackles forced, and second since he returned in week 12. And then just his ability to not take negative plays. I mean, in the run game, you see a lot of teams fall into these like second and 10, second and 12 situations because they run on first down, and that just doesn't happen with Kyren Williams. I think he only has a 7% tackle for loss percentage, so he's not taking those negative plays, which in turn puts Rams offense in favorable second down and third down situations rather than these second and long must pass situations where the offensive line sort of the defense is pinning their ears back and able to rush Stafford.
Yeah. So Blaine, I think in I guess in your opinion, because as Jeremy mentions here in our rundown, and he's spot on, right? This feels like a strength versus kind of weakness thing in terms of, I think or maybe it's kind of strength on strength more so. So like I think when it comes to Kyren Williams and his ability to run the football, he's proven that Pro Bowl level, right? However, going up against a Lions run defense that's ranked first in the NFL in rush DVOA, how do you feel those two strengths kind of match up on Sunday?
Nate Tice over at The Athletic released his weekly piece on Yahoo today, and actually put out this stat that was like kind of give me a little more confidence than I think I had coming into the show. But the Rams run a lot of duo, like a lot of duo, and the Lions have allowed the fourth most EPA against duo this year. So I am interested to see if the Lions make any adjustments to that. And like you said, the Lions run defense has been very good this year. I think they've only allowed one 100-yard rusher, and that was to Justin Fields. So yeah, I think it's an interesting matchup for sure. But what the Rams do, and like I said, they do run a lot of duo. It just kind of seems to match up where the Lions have. If there is a weakness to their ability to defend the run, it is defending duo.
All right, last thing before we go to our first break here. I always like to ask this of our guests because I'm just kind of curious as to where their anxiety lies in this matchup. So if you're Sean McVay in this game and you're going up against this Lions defense, what is your biggest concern about what Detroit does?
I think it's just their playmakers in the secondary. I think they're better in the secondary than I think they're given credit for. Brian Branch has been fantastic this year. They get CJ Gardner. They've got CJ Gardner Johnson back, and I think he's a player that they really missed this year. Melfonwu has really come on as of late. So it does scare me because Stafford has a tendency, or he can kind of make an ill-advised throw every now and then. And if one of those DBs gets their hands on the ball, it might go for 6 the other way. So I think that's my biggest concern.
Interesting. I don't think you're wrong. I think Lions fans might disagree with it. I actually think you're onto something there too, because especially particularly in the last month, right? The Lions have kind of come on defensively in terms of disruptive plays, in terms of pass breakups, in terms of interceptions. Now, some of that is helped up by a certain quarterback in Minnesota, but in general, I think the Lions' back end, obviously their outside corners is a huge issue, but their back end is full of guys who can make plays, right, Ryan?
Yeah, and I mean they just added another guy in CJ Gardner-Johnson in his first game back. He gets gifted an interception, but sometimes it's always like nice to get one, right? Like
Yeah.
it's nice to get one under your belt, and maybe they come in bunches after that, right? So I think there's something to that. And we talked about it a little bit on the podcast the other day about getting some guys back on defense that maybe can provide an opportunity for Detroit to throw some new looks at the Rams that aren't necessarily on tape. So
Yeah. But don't tell CJ Gardner-Johnson that one interception will help him kind of come in bunches, because according to him, he doesn't care about interceptions. He used a little bit more colorful language, but he says he just wants to raise 2 more banners. That's his focus. He doesn't need any certain kind of interceptions that starts with an F. Anyways, let's take a break. When we come back, more Lions-Rams breakdown. We're going to flip things around, talk about the Lions offense going up against the Rams defense when we come back here on First Bite. Okay, really quick before we go back into it, I want to go back into it pretty quickly here just so that we get all the time we can out of Blaine here. But let me thank all of our subscribers really quick. And for some reason, it didn't show up on my regular feed. So let me scroll down and get it here. Okay, here we go. Dan Pask, thank you for the 33-month subscribe to the channel. Says, yay, just in time for the playoffs. Yes, sir. Shrugger, thank you for the 15-month subscribed. Says Detroit and the surrounding suburbs versus everybody. Very nice. I see what you did there. Diomedes, 35-month subscribed at tier 2, by the way. Says LFG indeed. K Fletch, 20-month subscribe. I'm sorry, 4-month subscribed to the channel 20 minutes ago. Inaugural playoff first bite. Count me in. Let's hope it's not the last one. No offense, Blaine. Duck Lion, 16-month subscribe to the channel, says Twitch twins in series, not parallel. Just in time for the first playoff win of this millennium. Ooh, man. That's a way to put it. How now, Brown Cow? 10-month subscribe to the channel, says F Matt Stafford this week. He's F Matt Stafford this week. He's not Matthew this week. Oh, that's extremely insulting. By the way, Blaine, I was happy that you called him Matthew. Are there still people in Ramsland who have not learned that he doesn't go by Matt? Because I feel like last time the two teams played was just 2021. They're his first year there. There are still people calling him Matt. I'm like, you guys know he doesn't like that, right?
Yeah, so you get the occasional person. I think they call him Matt, but I think Rams fans and the media they're pretty good about calling him Matthew.
Okay, that's good to know.
Nobody calling him John.
John.
No, nobody's calling John.
Okay.
It took a while for the Philly media too to start calling Slay. Like he hates being called Darius. I don't know why. Anyways. Guy Utah, 26-month subscribe to the channel, says calling it now, Lions by 14 FTR. I'd enjoy a comfortable win, not gonna lie. Not expecting one, but I'd enjoy it. Space Kataz, 25-month subscribe to the channel, says go Loins. This game is going to rock so hard. Steel Lion, 5 gifted subs. We haven't had gifted subs bomb drop in a while, so appreciate you, Steel Lines. Congratulations to the 5 people who got it. McVeigh Rob, 17-month subscribe to the channel, says F interceptions, we're going for banners. There's the CJGJ quote I was referencing. Your boy Maroc, 25-month subscribe to the channel, says I just hope both teams have fun. No, you don't. It's okay. You can lie. Woodchuck Hunter, 17 months, says 17 months for the 17-point spread. I don't know where you're seeing a 17-point spread.
The local bookie. I don't know.
Okay. There we go. I think we're caught up on alerts there. Thank you again to everybody watching over on Twitch and over on YouTube. Appreciate y'all, but we're going to jump right back into this preview, so give me a second here, and we'll get going. And we are back here on First Bite, previewing Lions, Rams, playoff, wildcard, Goff, Stafford, narratives. We're here with Blaine Grisak of Turf Show Times to help get us to know this Rams team a little better beyond just the Matthew Stafford storylines. And in fact, we're going to get to know the Rams defense here because we talked about their offense in the first segment. Now let's see how they match up against an electric Lions offense. And when you talk Rams defense, you got to start with Aaron Donald. So let's start there. Aaron Donald, I guess, Blaine, I just want to know what percentage Aaron Donald are we getting in 2023 or 2024, I guess, at this point. Is it 70% Hall of Fame Aaron Donald? Is he still like rocking the 90 percentile Aaron Donald? What are we seeing from him these days?
I would still say he's 90% Aaron Donald. He still led all defensive linemen in pressures and defensive tackles and pass rush win rate. He still does things that just kind of make your mouth drop. You're like, did he really just do that almost on a weekly basis? The sack numbers aren't necessarily there. He's not necessarily at that defensive player of the year level that he was at, but he's still a guy that he's getting double and triple teamed on a weekly basis for a reason.
That was like 20% higher than I was hoping an answer for.
When it comes to Aaron Donald, though, I think we've kind of known him as like the game wrecker of all game wreckers, and you mentioned, in terms of pressures and things like that. What about Aaron Donald as the run defender?
Yeah, I think I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does in the run game. That's not to say he's a great run defender by any means. He has because he's so small, he has to be able to, and by so small, he's not
relatively
small,
speaking,
by any means. But he needs to be able to get off the line quick, and because of that, he can sometimes over pursue, which leaves can leave the gap open. So when those things happen, it can lead to a big run. But at the same time, because of that speed, he can also meet the running back at the handoff point and reach you 4 yards in the backfield.
That reminds me of that. Was it an ESPN guy like 3 years ago? It's like, Aaron Donald's a bad run defender.
Yeah. It's like, well, actually, according to my graph that I've made.
Yeah. Obviously not so much the case, but yeah, there is if there is a vulnerability to his game, it's what Blaine just described there. But let's move right next to Aaron Donald, where a new phenom is arising. The reigning rookie defensive player of the month, if I'm not mistaken, Kobe Turner, is having a ridiculous year. I think again, if there was a Lions fan on my shoulder trying to discredit his season, they're probably saying, "Oh, well, he's playing next to Aaron Donald." Tell Lions fans why that's a probably wrong way to think about how Kobe Turner is playing right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping for a 70% Aaron Donald, Jeremy, and you get 70% of Aaron Donald with Kobe Turner. I mean, they are kind of like they do have some similarities. Just that their quickness off the line, their motors. Turner is just absolutely relentless, and you get kind of that attitude. This was a guy that was snubbed from the NFL Combine last year, and you kind of get that attitude from him on the field is this guy that was overlooked throughout the entire draft process until the Rams draft took him in the third round. And he's a guy that Les Snead absolutely loved. He stood on the table for Turner in the draft room. And yeah, I mean, you are going to get the people who say, well, he's playing next to Aaron Donald. Well, we still have a lot of other defensive linemen over Aaron Donald's 9-year career. And Turner's the only one with 9 sacks. I think the next closest was Michael Brockers with 5. And also being just kind of on the smaller side, Turner has been fantastic in the run game. 24 run stops, which is 7 more than any other rookie interior defensive lineman. So yeah, he's been an all-around player and a pleasant surprise.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Rams passing defense, because I think that's an area where Lions fans, again, have kind of circled as, the Lions might have an advantage here. The Rams passing defense in terms of their secondary, in terms of, their ability to maybe get pressure from other places outside of just up the middle with Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner. So talk to us a little bit about the passing defense and how it's struggled a little bit down here down in the stretch. 25th in pass DVOA, 17th in EPA in the in weeks. I think, Jeremy, it's 14 through 14 to 17. Yeah. Not including the finale, because the mid off between Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold is just nothing that anybody wanted, Blaine. But with that tabled, let's talk about, the struggles that the Rams passing defense has statistically had, but how do you feel about it?
No, that would be a fair assessment. They definitely struggle at times, and I think it's just kind of a lack of experience. I mean, you don't get rid of Jalen Ramsey and get better in the secondary. They were for a lot of the year they were relying on Darian Kendrick, who's really not a fast player, and it was a sixth round pick on the boundary, and he had some good moments, but he was very up and down. A tendency to be grabby, which led to penalties, and a tendency to give up big plays vertically. Ahkello Witherspoon has been a pleasant surprise as kind of one of those low value free agent signings that the Rams made this summer, and he has been good. I believe he leads the team in interceptions with 3, but he tends to play from the trail, which can lead to him getting beat vertically. And there's been times this year where he's gotten lucky with either a bad pass from the quarterback or the sideline helping him out a little bit. So he's prone to the big play as well. And then they kind of started Kobe Durant in the slot in their star role on defense, and he struggled out of the gate. And so they've moved Quentin Lake there, and he's been all right. But Kobe Turner, Kobe Durant, sorry, he's been he's been better on the outside than Darian Kendrick has been. They kind of rotate them in and out. It's just a very inexperienced group. I think that their safeties, Russ Yeast, Lake and Lake, they're both in year 2, so it's just a very inexperienced group, and with that comes a lot of up and downs.
Is there a particular type of receiver or scheme that they struggle with in more so than most? Because you're looking at the Lions and they have a lot of ways that they can hurt you, right? You have an Amon-Ra St. Brown, you might have a Sam Laporta this week, but you also have a Jamison Williams that can stretch the field. So again, kind of putting yourself in the defensive coordinator position. What about the Lions' weapons scares you the most, given the Rams' weaknesses here?
Out of those guys, Jamison Williams scares me the most. He has that big playability, that ability to stretch the field, and those are the types of receivers that the Rams have let kind of run by them this year. And unlike a lot of quarterbacks the Rams have played this year, Josh Dobbs, name one of them. Goff has the ability to hit. He has a pretty deep ball. He has the ability to hit those guys and make you pay for letting those guys get past you. I think Rams ranked 19th, and they're supposed to play rate allowed, and I think the Lions are second in most explosive plays. So I think Jamison Williams for sure has me scared a little bit.
Another player, as I think what was interesting about the Rams kind of like retooling on the fly, so to speak, is you mentioned Jalen Ramsey out, another player in the middle that was a big guy for Bobby Wagner, right? Like you removed Bobby Wagner. Talk about the role that Ernest Jones has played, filling in for that spot, that hole that a Hall of Fame player left.
Oh yeah, I mean Ernest Jones has been absolutely fantastic, and I think they were kind of ready for him to take that step after his rookie season, but they had the opportunity to sign Bobby Wagner, and so when you have that opportunity, of course you sign Bobby Wagner. But yeah, after kind of sitting behind Bobby Wagner for a year, Ernest Jones has really taken that step forward. I think he leads all linebackers in pressures this year. They use him as a blitzer a lot, and I think that's something that they will try to do in this game. That's actually a matchup that I'm looking forward to the most. Is just that Lions interior offensive line and the Rams interior defensive line paired with Ernest Jones coming in as a blitzer, and especially when you have a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs who has struggled in pass protection at times this year. How do the Lions adjust to that and sort of make Rams pay for bringing extra guys? It's going to be interesting, I think. But yeah, I mean, Ernest Jones has been absolutely fantastic, and in my opinion, he was snubbed out of a Pro Bowl spot. But he's been fantastic.
Yeah, that definitely a fascinating matchup. Obviously, because of the interior defenders that the Rams have, and I think the Lions' offensive line is strong up the middle. Obviously, Frank Ragnow is arguably one of the best centers, arguably the best center, inarguably one of the best centers in football. Yeah. But like Jonah Jackson and Graham Glasgow have not been playing their best football as of late. That said, Graham Glasgow has been having a phenomenal year, so maybe this is a bounce back game, but it's going to be a challenge. And I think you bring up a good point with Jahmyr Gibbs. I would say David Montgomery has been a pretty good pass protector, but Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely a little bit of a liability if he's out there. And while we're talking about the interior offensive line and defensive line going against us, we have to talk about the rushing matchup, because that, again, kind of seems like a strength versus strength kind of matchup here. And we know the Rams are going to want to run the ball. We certainly know the Lions are going to want to run the ball. So what's your confidence level in that matchup, given that the Lions have been one of the better rushing teams in football this year, while the Rams are certainly trending in the right direction in terms of their run defense?
Yeah, that is a matchup that I'm looking forward to, especially with the guy that Gibbs that's just so explosive and brings a lot of speed. The Rams edge rushers, I think, can be exploited, but at the same time, the Rams they've only allowed one 100-yard rusher this season, and that's Christian McCaffrey all the way back in week 2.
Yeah.
The Rams do a good job of rotating their defensive line, which keeps guys fresh. I think for Michael Hoyt, who was a transition defensive lineman to edge rusher this year, and Byron Young, who's a third-round edge rusher and inexperienced. They've done a pretty good job at containing those edges and forcing plays back inside to their big body defensive linemen. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. Yeah.
All right, Blaine, I think we have one other question to throw your way. We did it in the first segment. We told you to put on your Sean McVay hat. If you're Raheem Morris and you're on the Rams, defense, you're thinking about how to stop this Lions offense. What's keeping you up at night? What's your biggest concern as the defensive coordinator stand-in for the Rams when it comes to this Lions offense?
I kind of mentioned it earlier. I think it's Jameson Williams. If I'm Raheem Morris, I'm doing everything possible to mitigate the damage on those explosive plays, and then just with the creativity in Ben Johnson, is he able? The Rams back end they've gotten undisciplined at times and allowing a elite player to come out the backside. Uncovered, so I wouldn't be surprised if Ben Johnson tried something there. And so if I'm Raheem Morris, I'm making sure that our guys know are disciplined on back end and know their rules.
That's fair. Yeah, and Jameson Williams is such a fascinating player on our end, because obviously a slow start to the season once he came back from suspension, but they really started utilizing him as a true number 2 right before he suffers his ankle injury and misses the regular season finale. But he's been a full go at practice, so it certainly seems like he might step right back into that number 2 role. And he hasn't really had that one breakout game yet, Blaine, but this seems like there's a potential there to happen. And the one thing we did see towards the end of the regular season was a concerted effort to get him the football, whether it's end arounds, whether it's wide receiver screens, or really anywhere in the route tree, which is different than before, because before it was all just about kind of the deep pass and those deep shots and utilizing the straight line speed. But now they're utilizing it in different ways. And if they're, if the Rams are vulnerable on the edge, maybe we do see a little bit more of those end arounds, reverse type of plays. But we'll get into that in a second here, because it is now time for our prediction segment, which we call the one thing we think we know. I forgot to explain this to you, Blaine, so listen up, and we'll do a couple examples before it's your turn anyways. But the one thing we think we know is a prediction portion where we predict anything about the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be the winner or loser or the score or anything like that, but if you want to go that direction, you absolutely can. It can be Matthew Stafford throws for 3 touchdowns, Aaron Donald gets a strip sack. It could be Jameson Williams gets 2 touchdowns. Just something that you have a relative amount of confidence or a gut feeling of what you think is going to happen. And as always, we kick things off with Ryan Matthews. Ryan, what is the one thing you think you know about the inaugural version of First Byte and Lions vs. Rams playoff edition?
We got to work on shortening that title. You of all people. Okay, so this is tough. I put a lot of pressure on myself thinking about this, and here's an interesting thing I found digging. So Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Mm-hmm. Phenomenal rookie season. I think the one area that he's sort of underwhelmed in is his receiving ability. Sure. The drops, especially. And what I found interesting about his drops, he's had 6 on the season. Seems like a lot. He only dropped 1 ball in college last year with Alabama. Mm-hmm. 5 of those drops came behind the line of scrimmage. I think that this is the week where Eric gets what he wants. I think that we get Jahmyr Gibbs past the line of scrimmage, running Texas routes, running, routes downfield. That's been the thing. I mean, that was the thing all offseason, Jeremy, that like people were trying to highlight about Gibbs, right?
Yeah.
Like when we had our first Byte preview about Jahmyr Gibbs, we brought multiple people on to talk about Gibbs. It was like, man, this guy has downfield receiving ability. I'm thinking that we get some downfield receiving from Jahmyr Gibbs. I know his over-under for receiving yards is set at like 21.5. I feel like that's an over. His receptions is at 3.5. It's at plus money, though, which I think is sort of interesting. I'm just thinking that we're going to get a bigger Jahmyr Gibbs receiving impact than we have all season long.
Okay. If we get a Jahmyr Gibbs wheel route that succeeds, Ryan, I'm going to be sweating.
As long as it's not a flea flicker, right?
That's right. All right, Blaine, we'll go to you next. What is the one thing you think you know about Lions Rams?
All right, one thing I think I know about this game is I think Ernest Jones is going to have 2 sacks in this game. I think Raheem Morris knows that in order to knock Jared Goff off of his game, you have to pressure him through the interior. I see him blitzing Ernest Jones a lot in this game, and so I see Ernest Jones with 2 sacks and flustering Goff a little bit.
Certainly a possibility. It's going to be one of the bigger challenges in this game for the Lions, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, because of all of the things that they can disrupt in the center of that line. And I hope you're wrong, but I could certainly see that happening. I'm gonna go a little off book here, Ryan. I am again going to make it a 2 things I think I know, and one thing that I almost never do on this show is going to be one of them. The first one is not that. The first one is the Lions are going to hit on a trick play. It feels like it's been a little too long, and I'm not talking like a fake punt. I'm not talking about like a fake a surprise onside kick. I mean an offensive play, some offensive play trickery. Like I think this could be Ben Johnson's last game. I think while the Lions are like we're treating this like every other week. We don't need to. We don't want to push things. We don't want to force things. Nah. This
game elimination.
This is a stage that Ben Johnson has never been on. This is a stage that Dan Campbell's only been on as a coach and a player. But this is a special stage. They're gonna put on a show in front of the home crowd. They're gonna bring it back to the Lions Rams 2021 game where they pulled 4 trick plays.
Oh yeah, they threw everything and the kitchen sink at the Rams that day.
I'm hoping it's not a flea flicker, but I'm not counting out that it might be a flea flicker because Ben Johnson does like flea flickers, and I feel like he'd like wink at me after he called it, kind of like he did in the press conference. The other thing I think I know, I don't do this often, Ryan. The Lions win.
Wow.
I'm just gonna make a straight up prediction here. Lions win. I'm not going to explain myself. This is the gut. This is the Dan Campbell gut. This isn't an on paper preview. This isn't analytics. This is just going with my gut. Lions win.
Any prediction on how it happens?
Nope. Not gonna even go that far because you know what? If you read my on paper preview, it might come to a different conclusion. I don't know at this point. So don't hold me to one or the other because I'm fully aware that I might just be a hypocrite this week. I don't care. I'll play both sides.
This is what's happening. This is classic Jeremy Reisman.
I'm hedging.
He's telling you he's done something unprecedented, but wait until 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, everybody.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, Blaine, I want to give you the floor here to kind of promote your stuff, promote Turf Show Times, say your name right so I don't blow it like I did at the beginning of the show, which I still feel bad about. My bad. But yeah, take the floor. Tell us where they can find you on the interwebs and what sort of stuff maybe you guys have cooking over there at Turf Show Times.
So you can find me over at turfshowtimes.com. I have 10 articles there every week. So be sure to read my stuff, especially this week. You're probably not interested in it other weeks, but this week might catch you a little bit. And then you can find me on Twitter at @bgrisaktst.
Perfect. All right, Blaine. Well, I appreciate you making some time. It's gonna be a real interesting game. But take care of Matthew after we beat him. He's gonna need some consoling.
Will do. Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me on.
Thanks, buddy. All right, that'll do it for our preview show. Guys, that is our last podcast stuff before the playoff game. So if you missed it, we did a full POD cast with me, Ryan, and Chris, and so much more is coming your way after. But we will see you guys on the other side, man. It is going to be crazy. If you're at Ford Field, make sure you get loud, and get loud while they're in the huddle, like Alex Anzalone asked. Don't wait for them to break the huddle. We don't want them to hear the snap count. We don't want to hear them play. But until then, for Ryan, for myself, it's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
Oh, there will be a Madden sim. Don't you worry. But that's it for our podcast content. There will be a Madden sim at its normal time. That is not Ryan. Is this a Ryan? That's a Ryan. Great. All right. Chat, we did it. We made it through it. I don't know if I feel better or worse after that. I think I remain relatively unchanged. I did not like the stat that the duo stat that he threw out. That one made me feel a little worse. Nate Tice, don't do that.
Yeah, I hate when smart people do research.
But yeah, I think in general, I still feel okay. I do. When I said my gut feeling is that the Lions win this game, that is coming from a place of honesty. That I can't guarantee that that's what the numbers are going to shake out with. I've already looked at I've made the charts. I've looked at the charts. I haven't dug into every single stat, but if you follow me on Twitter, you saw me put out the since week 11 advanced stats in terms of DVOA, in terms of EPA, and the Rams look like a pretty darn good team. But my theory, as I kind of threw it out in Pride of Detroit Direct today, after looking at just the past 4 weeks, and like you said, with the Rams, that's weeks 14 through 17 because I threw out last week, the Rams look like they've hit a little bit of a wall. Defensively. Offensively, they're still chugging. And part of me thinks that maybe that team peaked a little bit too early. Part of me thinks when you're a team that has to fight for your playoff life for 2 months straight, at some point you're going to hit a wall. And I understand they have a really young team, and sometimes a young team can blow by that wall and still seem fresh in January. But the Lions are a young team right now, and they did hit a slump, and are now trending back in the right direction. And so part of me feels like the Lions, they did like a little springboard, like where they're back on the upward trend, whereas like the Rams hit the springboard a long time ago, and now they're still up there, but they're starting to come back down to earth a little bit. Momentum.
Oh, there it is. Oh, me. Oh, my.
I don't think I can explain Duo completely without like a full diagram, and I don't want to.
Yeah, I think from what I understand about Duo is that it's focused on double teaming at the play side. So
Right.
like double teaming at the play side and putting the linebacker as the player that the running back needs to beat. Like there isn't an emphasis on getting to that second level from the offensive lineman. There's an emphasis on, because most in other running schemes, right, or in other running variations, like you're going to like the backside linebacker, but in this you're going to the play side linebacker. Right. So I think from just my totally just like barely informed understanding of the Duo.
Yeah, I think that's a basic way to put it.
Yeah, like, so my thinking is, right, like Nate Tice comes up with this number. Here's the thing with that. I feel like with Duo, I want to know where those numbers come from, like from like a whole season perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to know how those numbers were impacted or affected when Aleem McNeil was out for 4 weeks.
Right.
I want to know how those numbers
would like it definitely needs to be put into context too, right? Because like if the Lions don't face a lot of Duo, but the Ravens ran it a bunch,
right? Well, that's
then,
skewed.
Like, right.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing too is like, as I mentioned on the podcast, like Jack Campbell has improved a ton.
Yeah.
since the bye week. Alex Anzalone, though, on the other hand, he's kind of shown a little bit more of the Alex that we knew in yesteryears in terms of like missed tackles. And I think that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Is the Lions
Right.
have missed a lot of tackles this year, and that's
It's been up and down.
Yeah, that's a problem with duo though, right? Like
Right.
if you're missing tackles as the linebacker, oh crap, then that's a big play for the running back.
Correct.
But I'm thinking on my head, Jeremy, like,
don't hurt yourself.
I'm steady as a mouse right now.
You son of a.
I'm just I'm thinking through it, and it's like, when have there been like big plays on the ground against the Lions?
Doesn't have much.
It feels like the Ravens game.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much that number is just out of whack. The one thing that Dan Campbell did mention during his press conference, I think earlier in the week, I can't remember which day it was, but he talked about the Rams running a lot of gap. And like way more gap than they had been running in years past.
Yep, and that's exactly what our guest said today too.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, I don't think that deters my confidence in the Lions' run defense.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't love that they're not coming off the strongest performance last week against the Vikings. But there were a lot of, mixing and matching pieces there. Like you've got Alualu playing next to Aleem for the first time. You've got C.J. Gardner-Johnson out there with the safeties for the first time since week 2. And so there's a lot of moving parts, but this all kind of goes back to some of the things we were talking about on the midweek mailbag, whereas like, if they're just attacking your front and they're letting your linebackers run free, does it make more sense to take a linebacker off the field and replace him with a Brian Branch, replace him with a C.J. Gardner-Johnson, replace him with an Iffy, who are good run defenders but can also hang with your fast receivers when they pass the ball? Because it is going to be a huge game for those second-level defenders, whether they're linebackers or whether they're corners or whether they're safeties. It's going to be a huge game for those guys. And the tackling has been inconsistent. I in general, I think both Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell are decent tacklers, but they're not the most consistent tacklers. And a guy like Kirby Joseph, definitely not a consistent tackler. I would contend maybe a bad tackler. So you want to keep him.
TJ Hawkinson might argue that, but well. Actually he might say, yeah, he is a bad tackler.
But yeah, I think that's a key matchup, and that's what the Lions have been saying all week too. Is like tackling is such a huge issue in this game, not just for Kyron Williams, but Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are guys that break tackles a ton.
Right. Yeah, and it goes back to what you were saying yesterday. In terms of Stafford's time to throw. Right, like Stafford's getting the ball out quick, and if Stafford's getting the ball out quick, that's going to put the onus on guys at the second level making tackles.
Yep.
There's part of me that thinks that we're going to see a lot of, I just feel like we might see a lot less Derek Barnes in this game.
Yeah, maybe.
How do you, I don't know, not to put you on the spot, but like, do you feel like, as far as like Jack and Derek go, like, which one would you rather have on the field when it comes to, hey, I need to, I don't know, make a play on a guy who's caught a ball at the second level?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's Jack, but at the same time, like, I feel like my answer is still riding off the pass breakup he made in week 1.
I know. Yeah.
Like, when's the last time he's made a good pass defense play since then?
There's probably been one.
There's
right?
probably been one.
There's probably been at least one since then.
I know he's capable of it. It hasn't manifested itself. And I think a lot of it is like they like to send him on passing downs. They like to blitz him still. There was that period of time where he was an edge rusher. He had a great, a perfectly timed blitz last week and got a sack out of it. I don't know if they don't trust his coverage. I don't know if they just want Brian Branch to be kind of maintaining the middle of the field. They still play Jalen Reeves-Maybin every now and then as well. So I don't know. Maybe Jalen Reeves-Maybin is a bigger part of the game plan too. I don't know if that provides anyone any comfort or fear.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just wondering how much we see of the 3 safety sets.
Yeah. We didn't see much of it, if at all, last week. They just rotated those guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that's maybe still going to be the plan.
Design.
I don't know. I don't think they're hiding. I really don't. I know that was one of Eric's theories, and maybe it is, but it's hard to say, right? It's TJ Gardner Johnson's first game back. So is that a dipping of the toe? Is that sorry, but we have 2 other safeties that are making plays right now, so you're just going to have to be part of the rotation until someone gets injured or we don't like the way one of these players are playing. But I get the sense that they don't want to take Iffy off the field. I get the sense that they don't really want to take Kirby off the field that much either. And so maybe that does mean more 3 safety sets, but I tend to think that there's going to be more rotation.
Yeah, there's just part of me that is curious, and I'm glad I wouldn't be Jeremy asking Aaron Glenn this, because we all know how that would probably go. But what if it wasn't 3 safety sets? What if it was you have Kirby and you have Iffy, and you're sliding CJ more into like a slot role, and then Brian Branch is kind of like a quasi linebacker, like next to Alex Anzalone.
Yeah, maybe. I thought you were gonna suggest moving Branch to the outside corner, which in an ideal world, sure. In a world in which you are starting a rookie corner at a position he hasn't played all season, probably not the smartest thing
against Cooper Kupp. Yeah.
Against Cooper Kupp, probably not setting him up to succeed there.
Well, actually, I think that's the interesting thing I saw. Let me go ahead. I want to double check some numbers, but I was looking at like snap distribution for the receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get that pulled back up real quick.
In the meantime,
yeah, go ahead.
I'll thank some subscribers here because we got more alerts during that segment. They were turned off though, so that they didn't interrupt our guests. So let me scroll down and get to all of those. Okay, it was right there. Mighty Too Hottie, 28 months subscribed to the channel, says we will get a gifted sub drive on the POD cast after the Lions win. That'd be nice. Speaking of which, an anonymous gifter dropped a 5 gifted sub bomb during that segment. Thank you to whoever you are, anonymous gifter. The Zoe, 10 months subscribed to the channel. Didn't say anything, but appreciate your support. Didiums, 17 months subscribed to the channel, says Stephen Gilmore season starts now. I understand Jerry Jacobs went to IR. I don't think Stephen Gilmore, I think Gilmore has been elevated, or not elevated, but active in 3 games.
Gilly.
Pretty much only special teams. He might be active in this game, but I almost would bet that they activate someone, elevate from the practice squad before they play him. They might trust Chase Lucas more than they trust Stephen Gilmore. But they're keeping Stephen Gilmore because they're seeing growth. They're seeing potential. That's why he's on the 53 rather than the practice squad, because they're afraid of losing him if they cut him.
Yeah.
Blueberries? Did they just announce it? I mean, we knew they were going to wear the blueberries, right? Yeah, they indeed are wearing blueberries.
Okay. I can dig it.
Diomedes wants a list cast. I didn't see what your request was, so if you are still here, Diomedes, maybe. Oh, that's a pretty awesome blueberry gift that I'm going to use. MNUFC 33 months subscribed to the channel, says Lions are ready for this, laying all my emotions out, ready for a heartbreaker euphoria. This is what football is about. Go Lions. That's right. Ice Cecil, a 7 watch streak. That's pretty impressive. Oh, and Shake and Bake over on YouTube. $5 super chat says, why is everybody talking about the Rams offense? Lions are a top 5 offense. The Rams should be fearful of the Lions offense. The greatest show on turf. One pride. Listen, I think that's what's going to make this game exciting, is that both I don't know if there are if there's better, more balanced offenses in the NFL than both the Lions and the Rams. Like, they are phenomenal at both. I'd have to check DVOA, but I would imagine if there's another team that has a top 10 rating in pass offense DVOA and run offense DVOA, it's maybe one other team. But I'm pretty sure both the Lions and the Rams fall into that category, which is unique company. And the Rams defense.
Do you think that other team is the Ravens?
Yeah, maybe, probably. I don't know if they're going to be top 10 in pass.
I'm going to look right now.
And this isn't me saying Lamar Jackson can't pass the ball, for the record. I don't believe that. I don't believe that he cannot.
There's actually quite a few teams.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Which is surprising. Like I was like, oh yeah, that's probably interesting. 49ers are first in pass.
That makes sense.
And they're second in rush.
Yeah.
They have that Christian McCaffrey guy. And Kyle Shanahan. And the Dolphins.
Sure.
The Dolphins are second in pass and third in rush.
Dang.
Buffalo is third in pass. I feel like their number has to be inflated a little bit at 7 in rush just because of what they did to the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then Baltimore is 1 in rush and surprisingly 5 in pass, which is probably a little bit inflated for what they did to the Lions. Who knows? But yeah, Rams 9 and 6 and Lions 7 and 4 in pass and rush respectively.
Okay. Miko, 25 months subscribed to us. Who would you guys pick as your X factors for Sunday's game, offense and defense? Small tease for tomorrow's video.
Oh, okay. I got one.
Okay.
Puka Nakua's hands.
Did he drop some passes? Did he get a little dropsies?
He dropped some 13 drops this year, Jeremy Reisman.
Okay.
Just to let you know, 13 is the most with any receiver with at least 75 targets this year. His drop percentage, his drop rate, 11%.
Interesting.
Second in the NFL behind only Jackson Smith-Njigba, who had a lot less targets, obviously, than Puka Nacua. I mean, when you get 153 targets, yeah, like you're going to drop passes, but 11% clip, it's quite a bit. And you know who's tied for 10th? Cooper Kupp.
It's because Matthew Stafford throws it so damn hard. He's still breaking fingers.
That might be happening, but my X factor is that the Rams receivers end up being a little bit like the Chiefs receivers in week 1.
Oh no, we're gonna win by asterisk. No.
No.
Mike Tirico's calling the games again. No.
They dropped a lot of passes, but it's the first home win in 30 years in the playoffs.
Okay, X factors. Well, I feel like we just talked about it a little bit. Like, I feel like Alex Anzalone is kind of an X factor in this game. And I don't know, my definition of X factor, and maybe this isn't what the actual definition of X factor is, like the fulcrum of the game. Like, the important player where if he has a good game, the Lions are going to win. If he has a bad game, the Lions are going to lose. Is that what an X factor is? Or is an X factor a guy that, like, no one's talking about, but this guy could have a huge game?
No, I feel like X factors have to be like known players. Okay. Yeah. Like not a Fatu Melifonwu against Minnesota. He ended up, well, I don't know. He ended up being an X factor.
Right. But it's more the first one than.
I think so. More the former than the latter, I think.
Okay. So yeah, I think Alex Anzalone is going to play a huge part in both. I think the run game and they do most of their damage over the first 5 to 10 yards of the field, and so Anzalone's going to be in coverage a little bit. He's going to be out in the flats. Kyren Williams can catch the ball too. And that's one thing I think he's done an excellent job at. Like man-on-man coverage with the wide receivers, they throw out in the flats. I can't tell you how many times Alex Anzalone has like tackled that guy for a loss or like 1 yard. He's been very good at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
the Blue Morpho on YouTube clarifies the X Factor is Xbox finishing move. So that's what he meant.
yeah. How did I clip it? Clip it, and then we'll send it to Blaine on Sunday after the Lions win. Okay, so interesting snap distribution for where the Rams receivers line up. Cooper Kupp, 60% of the time in the slot. Puka Nacua, 70% of the time out wide.
Interesting.
And like, to no surprise, and maybe Blaine kind of touched on this a little bit. And again, you get 153 targets. It is what it is. But 26 contested targets for Puka Nacua, which is 3 more than Amon-Ra St. Brown in the season, which should tell you a lot. So, I mean, no fear in yelling at that guy to go get the ball. And he's, doesn't strike you as that kind of receiver, right?
Not at all.
Yeah. So, but I mean, not a bad contested catch rate either. He's sitting at like 22nd, just behind Amon-Ra, who's actually tied for 13th. So there's like a huge tie there at 13th. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like Cooper Kupp, it feels like Brian Branch against Cooper Kupp feels better than Brian Branch versus Brian Branch versus Cooper Kupp doesn't feel as good as Brian Branch versus Puka Nacua.
Do you view Puka Nacua as the bigger threat? I don't think I feel that way.
I don't think I feel that way either. I mean, I don't know. I also don't want to discredit the guy and pretend like he didn't have an incredible season. I mean, he did. He had an incredible year. I just think it's like, I don't know. Puka's like a sneaky 6'2".
Yeah.
Like,
Aren't they both 6'2"?
Are they both that size?
I feel like are.
I feel like Kupp is bigger. Is Kupp not bigger? Am I just not are my eyes just lying to me? My memory lying to me?
I thought I looked it up recently this week because I'm like, I don't really.
Yeah, dude, they're identical. They're 6'2", 20, like Cooper Kupp 6'2", 208. What's Puka?
I think he's a little smaller, but 6'2".
6'2", 205.
Oh, no.
I don't know. Cool. They got clones. I don't know. There's just something about it that just, I feel like I would want Brian Branch on Puka Nacua rather than Brian Branch on Cooper Kupp. But that goes to what you were kind of maybe what you thought I was going to say earlier. And it's like, I don't know, if Puka's playing a lot outside. Do I want Brian Branch playing outside? Do I want somebody else playing Cooper in the slot?
They're not going to do that.
No, they're not doing that. No.
As much as I think we all wish that would work out, they're not going to do that.
No, probably not. But
all right. 2 things. One, Brandon Nevada, thank you for the 16 months subscribe channel. So it's playoffs, baby. Second thing is we did get our list cast prompt from Diomedes.
Oh.
And very simply, this isn't even technically a list cast, but it's an exercise that is worth doing and fun to do. List the way he put it is list the top 5 other winners of the NFL wildcard week. So just list your winners. There doesn't have to be a ranking of any type, but let's go game by game and predict some winners.
Okay. I was also thinking maybe if you wanted to, it could be like confidence rankings.
Okay.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Game you're most confident in. We could start with Bills Steelers, which has the largest line. Bills are favored by 10 in that game. At home. But it's a potential snowstorm.
Yeah, what all the tinfoil hat stuff I love. I haven't had a chance to look into it enough, but like moving the game to Cleveland, Have you heard of this?
I have seen that tweet. It hasn't gone mainstream enough for me to believe that it's real.
Right. But also it's Thursday. You know what I mean? Like weather is a little fluid and, you know.
Sure. The over-under at that game is set at 35.5.
35.5?
It's snow.
I know, but like that, I mean, Jeremy, why would you tell me that?
I'm sorry.
That's like one of the betting guidelines is like if you have an over-under that is under 40 and you have like what is essentially a double-digit spread, you take the double-digit spread. I'm not betting on Mason Rudolph. Are you kidding me?
Don't bet on the over-under in this game because in the past, betting on a snowstorm game on the under or over has bitten you very specifically in the ass before when they changed locations and did not honor your bet.
Oh my God.
And did not honor your refund, I should say.
Yeah, that was insane.
Which is absolutely insane. I have to imagine they would have a different policy for the playoffs, but...
No, they don't, because they're the devil. Okay, but yeah, Bills I think is number one. Like I don't
You're
think
most confident in that one.
I think so. What about you?
Yeah. It's I mean, the Steelers have some sort of black magic in the regular season, but it doesn't seem to transfer to the playoffs, and I mean it's Mason Rudolph. Yeah. I watched the worst NFL game ever. And Mason Rudolph was a big reason why it was the worst game ever. And I'm under the impression that he was so bad in that game that there's no way he's even a better quarterback 2 years later. He can't get better based on what I saw.
I didn't even realize that. Yeah, you were talking about the 2021 game. I thought you were talking about the game that happened last week.
Nope.
On Saturday, which was awful.
Yeah. The next biggest line is Packers Cowboys. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. That is not my second most confident game.
It's close for me to being my second most confident game, but it's not. The Jair Alexander stuff is interesting though.
Yeah. But they've played a lot of this season without him.
It's true. Yeah, it feels like it feels a lot like the Lions and Jace in a way, right? Where it's like Jordan Love, I don't know, setting the world on fire. Like their offense.
You know, I'm looking at the rest of these games and I'm not really confident in any of them, to be completely honest. So I can see why this is, but I really don't like Cowboys -7. That line seems way high to me.
Oh, it seems way high. Like I would take Packers +7.
Yeah.
For sure. You know why? Because we just saw what the Lions were able to do in Week 17.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
you can hang with this Cowboys team.
I think a lot of people are overblowing the whole. I've seen a lot of people that like normally I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go to your page for opinions and stuff, but like I've seen a lot of people say like, yeah, I mean the Cowboys are at home and they've been great at home. It's like, dude, 2 weeks ago I just watched the Lions team basically go in there and win a football game, and the Packers they're no slouches. So I agree with you. I think 7 is way too, like I'm all about Packers +7, but. We're doing all these straight up though. So
yeah.
I do think the Cowboys end up winning that game though.
I think you're right.
But I'm not super confident in it.
Mostly because the Packers defense is ass.
Yeah.
But I really hope they win that game somehow.
Yeah.
We went over it yesterday or whatever it was, but man.
It's the clearest path to Matt Patricia.
I don't even care who it is. The Lions are going to win in the divisional round if they win this round and the Packers win. Like
No. It has to be Philadelphia, Jeremy.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Why?
You know why?
Why?
Because the alternative is the Lions could possibly lose a divisional round game to Baker Mayfield, and I don't want to spend an offseason with
dissecting
Jared Goff couldn't beat Baker Mayfield in the home playoff game.
Okay, but if we're focusing on the negative result, do you think losing to Matt Patricia is going to feel any better?
At least I know Philadelphia's offense is good. You know what I mean? Like losing to Baker Mayfield.
But I mean, we beat Baker once already in Tampa, and Jalen Hurts.
Mike Evans was open a lot.
But you just listed a reason why the Eagles are a worse matchup.
Because their offense is good.
Yeah, because they have Jalen Hurts. There's a guy that can probably hurt the Lions. I'm not scared of Baker Mayfield. I don't care what his stats say. I don't care what Nolan Bianchi says. He loves Baker Mayfield.
He loves Baker Mayfield? That's cool.
I love you, Nolan, by the way. You're not watching, but I love you.
You know who my second most confident team is? I've just made a decision. It's Browns over Texans.
Ooh, spicy. Okay,
Yeah.
They're the away team.
They are, and
they are favored.
They are the favorite away team. Yeah.
Who's their quarterback? Flacco? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Here's where it's at with me. Myles Garrett might be a top 3 player in football, and that includes quarterbacks.
Oh, damn.
He's good, man. He's so
very good.
He's so good. I mean, if there was a way that we could get a Steelers Browns game with Mason Rudolph versus Myles Garrett again, that'd be fantastic.
I didn't even put that together. I don't know if that's possible.
I don't even know if it's possible. Maybe in the AFC Championship. I don't know.
Let's see. The Steelers, if Steelers win,
they go and play
Baltimore.
Yeah, they stand a chance in that one.
Dang.
So it would be AFC Championship.
It would have to somehow be
Browns
the AFC
versus
Championship. Oh, man.
I did see that Will Anderson, he's dealing with an injury. He's questionable. I don't know, if it's, I don't know what level of questionable it is, but I don't know. It just feels like, the Texans had a really good year, but I think the Browns are just really good on defense. And as someone mentioned in the chat, I think just defense travels well. And I mean, defense wins championships, Jeremy. I think rookie quarterback too. I think that's something. Rookie quarterback, first playoff game.
CJ Stroud has done nothing wrong ever. In the professional, in the NFL.
Well, even in college, right? I mean, he did a lot of things great from a Michigan fan's perspective.
I guess that's true. I don't here's the problem. I've watched almost zero AFC football, so I have very little grasp on who's going to win that football game.
I don't watch a ton of it either, but I bet on a lot of it, so I feel like I have an understanding.
Despite that, I've watched plenty of the Chiefs and I've watched plenty of the Dolphins because they're always on TV anyways. They're unavoidable.
Right.
But I don't know who wins that game either. Now I'm starting to go back and saying maybe Cowboys is my 2 confidence.
That's why I was like, it might be, but I wanted to put a spicy meatball in there and say the Browns.
No, I'm gonna backtrack. I'm gonna say Cowboys is my 2.
Okay, so we both have Bills. You have Cowboys. I have Browns. I will say that I would love a Cleveland Browns versus Detroit Lions Super Bowl. That feels like it would be so much fun.
That'd be amazing. F it, Chiefs is my 3. They're at home. It's Patrick Mahomes. I know the Chiefs have looked unimpressive all year.
Yeah, unimpressive might be nice.
Have they played? They beat Miami earlier this season. I don't know. Patrick Mahomes is gonna pull some BS.
Didn't they? I think they wasn't that the Germany game?
Maybe.
Or they played overseas somewhere.
That sounds right. But they're the Chiefs' defense is legitimately good. It was in Germany. Their defense is legitimately good. Their offense is going through stuff. I understand that, but the
Chiefs,
yeah. Their defense is good, and they have Patrick Mahomes. What
about their run defense though?
Is it
I want to
bad?
look at that. I don't know how. I think their run defense is kind of, nah.
No team like their past 5 opponents, no one has scored more than 20 points.
Who are their past 5 opponents? One of them is Jake Browning.
Bills, Patriots, Raiders, Bengals, Chargers. Shut up! Let me make a point.
Let me stick to my guns. They're 27th in rush defense CVOA.
Whatever. Whoever, when is running the ball important in the playoffs?
Hell yeah,
No
brother.
one ever says that.
Yeah. I don't know that. The Dolphins just suffered so many injuries though. Like
true.
losing Bradley Chubb.
They're
Losing
gonna
Jalen
start
Phillips.
Bruce Irvin. Maybe not start, but he's on their 53.
Right. Yeah. Like that's, I don't know. And the Dolphins, we just talked about, they're 3rd in rush DVOA. Like they can run the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I think that speaks to what you said earlier. Like I don't feel super confident in like any of the games besides the Bills just taking care of the Steelers and ruining any shot at Mason Rudolph playing Myles Garrett.
All right.
Okay, so what's the next one?
You have Dolphins, Chiefs, and Eagles, Bucks left.
Okay, I'm gonna say I'm pretty confident. I'm at 3. I'm going to put Bucks. I'm gonna rip off my mask and reveal that I'm Nolan.
The Eagles are 3-point favorites.
That feels dumb. What about that football team over the past month says they should be a road favorite?
Just that the NFC South sucks.
Yeah.
And the Eagles are like, they have such a talented roster. What is happening? It's like
Matt Patricia's happening.
But at least offensively, you feel like they can figure it out. I don't know, man. Like
AJ Brown's dinged up. Jalen Hurts, his fingers looking like
I
Calvin
forgot about
Johnson.
AJ Brown. I don't know, man. It just there's
DeAndre Swift. He was really cool in October.
There's part of me that's just like, I can't stop but look at this roster and assume that at some point they're going to turn things around. At some point, the ship is going to right itself. At some point, talent is going to take precedent over everything else because they are definitely the more talented team. But then I think like, oh shit, they got Mike Evans. Oh shit, they got Chris Godwin. Uh-oh. That defense might be in big trouble.
Like
Slay might be back though. I don't know if he's like decided, okay, fine, I will play if Matt Patricia's the defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna put Bucks there. I got a couple of spicy meatballs there. Cleveland and Tampa Bay, 2 and 3.
I mean, this is a very difficult round to predict, and I'm including Lions, Rams in that. So, okay. Our number 1 was Bills over Steelers. Mm-hmm. My number 2 was backtracking and saying Cowboys over Packers.
Yep, my number 2 was Browns over Texans.
My 3 was Chiefs over Dolphins.
My 3 was Bucks over Eagles.
Lord, this is so hard. 4 Browns over Texans, 5 Eagles over Bucks.
Yeah, okay. Like being the least confident in the Eagles is a safer place to be than being the 3rd most confident that the Bucks are going to be.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. That's right on brand. Good job.
Joshua, send me your address so that I can go to your house and rip your Stafford jersey off. Not allowed. By the way, Thomas J. Hutchin, thank you for the 15-month subscribe to the channel. Almost missed you.
I think 4 I'll go Cowboys.
Okay.
Just because, like, I don't know. I think it's just such a good matchup for Dallas. Like, I think that they could run the ball against Green Bay, right? And if they do run the ball,
then it gets over.
That's when it seems like Dallas's offense is hitting on all cylinders. So, and then I'll say five Dolphins over Chiefs.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, it's possible, man. I don't.
But that's my same feeling that you have about the Eagles, where
Yeah.
you look at it and you're like, talent. And it's like the Chiefs. It's Pat Mahomes. It's Travis Kelce. It's Rashee Rice.
Sure.
It's Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Just everyone line up where you're supposed to line up. You'll be all right. Tony. I was going to say something and I forgot what it was.
Darius.
Will Andy Reid retire?
Oh my God!
Imagine
Please
we lose
no.
another one. Oh, I was gonna say, like, could you imagine getting into the divisional divisional round and not having the Chiefs or the Bengals? Like, just going back to your September self and telling him that. Yeah, no Bengals or Chiefs in the divisional round. Instead, we're gonna have the Browns.
Oh yeah, or hey, the Texans are gonna be in there, but
Right.
not the Chiefs or the Bengals.
The Texans, I guess it can't be the Browns and the Texans. It has to be one or the other, but crazy. Steelers. Steelers, Browns, but no Chiefs, Bills, or Bengals.
Well, I mean, flip it over to the NFC. You go in the divisional round.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Cowboys and there's no Eagles. But there are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Green Bay Packers.
Oof.
That would, I feel like that's equal. Maybe not.
It's
But it's
still
close.
Zazu, come here, buddy. You've been summoned. We'll probably bring Zazu in here and get out of here, as I have not written a single word of on paper. And should probably get to it. The charts have been done, but hey, buddy. Oh, charts have been done for a couple days.
That's okay. You're incredibly on brand right now. I feel like you're right in the pocket.
What's up, buddy? Were you sleeping? Anything else to take care of? Ryan, chat. Who do we hate more? Packers or Cowboys? We definitely hate the Packers more, but we're rooting for them this week. We have to.
Yep. It's the clearest path to Matt Patricia.
Stop it. It's the clearest path to the NFC Championship.
Did you see that Darius Slay saying that it might be a good thing that the Eagles are hitting the road for the playoffs after losing 5 out of 6?
Yeah, because they were going to get booed at home.
Yeah.
That's really funny. And I know Eagles fans got pissed about it, and I think
Did they?
I think that makes it even
That
more
makes
funny.
it so much better. That's like with the whole Stafford jersey ban thing, and somebody being like, that makes me want to wear a Stafford jersey to the game that much more. And I'm like, that's my energy, dude. Like,
buddy, why are you snuggling me like this? You never do that. You okay? You feeling okay?
oh, maybe Zazu can tell when impending inclement weather is coming.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say.
Oh no, nothing Lions related. You kidding me? I'm not putting that juju on anything. You know what? All right. Here's one really weird thing that I'll admit on stream. So Teddy, we switched him over from formula to milk,
Mm-hmm.
and at first, like, he wasn't about it, which I understand, because you go from like chugging room temperature formula to like me being like, okay, here's milk, and it's like ice cold from the fridge, and you're trying to chug cold milk. That can't be comfortable for a baby. So like we warm it up, and I just like I'll warm it up in the microwave, and usually what I do is I put it in a measuring cup, a glass one, I put it in the microwave, I put it in for 20 seconds, and then I take it out and I stir it, and then I put it in for another 14. Stop doing that this week. You know why? Because I was like 20 seconds, put it back in 14. I was like 2014. That was nope. We're done doing that. Done doing that.
I thought that this was going to go down the road of being extra superstitious this week.
Very superstitious.
And yeah. I was gonna throw that out to chat if anyone in chat in our live audience has been doing anything extra superstitious this week, and I can say that I have. It's very minor. It's not like number 20. Was that the Jim Carrey movie number 23 or whatever?
Yeah.
It's not quite on that level, but every day so far I've gone into Allen Park, I've been wearing a Lion shirt under my hoodie, which is just, I don't know, it's just a little something for me. No one knows, but like I'm doing it right now. I'm wearing a little David Montgomery shirt.
It's just, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it
because I'm not. Yeah, I can't. You're not really supposed to wear it there as a media member, and it's I've heard of other media members literally been told like, hey, you can't wear a Dan Campbell shirt to a Dan Campbell press conference. That is unprofessional. Yeah. But no one knows when I'm doing it.
No one knows. I'm getting away with murder.
So I'm curious, is anyone else in chat doing something similar?
Yeah. We want to know what superstitious things you're doing. Soulful Break says, I don't let anyone sit in the seat I was sitting in when we won last Sunday.
Okay, I like it.
That's good. That takes me back to, I watched the Cowboys game with a group of friends, and as the Lions were driving down the field to score, we were all in the same spot and none of us moved. And I was like standing off like in a hallway, and like people were sitting, and then they score, right? And then the 2-point conversion, and we're all in that spot. We freak out, we're going crazy and stuff, and then flag and everything. And I was like standing in a different spot, and the penalty happens, right? Or before the offside happens, and everybody's like, Brian, go back in the hallway. I like scurried back over the hallway to like get back in the spot, and then that's when they get the offside, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like we put everything back into place. Everything will be fine. It was not fine. I needed to move to a different spot for James Mitchell to run that route just a yard deeper. Yeah. Duck Line, I wore my John Kitna jersey on a whim. That was the Ravens game. I'm sorry, guys.
Joshua Mercer 100-bit says, the funny thing about the Stafford situation is I was explaining the entire situation to my girlfriend, and afterwards she was like, so we're rooting for Stafford, right? Sounds like he's given you a lot more excitement than the Lions. I felt so conflicted after getting that response and contemplating it. No, Stafford never got us to the position we're in right now, which is the most exciting the Lions have been in 30 years.
I still kind of like, I don't want to say anything on stream that's incriminating. John Johnson, I've bypassed my lucky underwear several times already, so they are ready for Sunday. Have they been marinating? Like, I hope they're clean. Like,
yeah, I think that.
I
don't think lucky necessarily means dirty.
Sometimes you're like, I don't want to wash this. Yeah. I'm gonna
Nick the Greek with 100 bits says Matt Patricia poured out a little of his nacho cheese today for the OG Bill Belichick.
and then another 100 bits, and then he drank the rest down like a smoothie.
Yeah, that's right. Goff does have more playoff experience. That is true.
I heard someone use playoff experience against the Lions and saying, well, Stafford has, Super Bowl experience and McVay has Super Bowl experience. I'm like, does Goff not get Super Bowl experience because he lost the game?
I don't know.
Oh, superstitious. Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might be coaching somewhere else, but he's been removed from the spot that he was in where Jared Goff had that bad Super Bowl game. So things are trending in the right direction.
Okay. Sure.
This is astrology for football.
It's 100%. It almost exactly is. I mean, those two have crossed paths this year with the moon phase bullshit.
Was it like the waning gibbous or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Blueberries at home is all I need to know. Lions win there. You know what? I like that. Let's keep it simple.
More from Soulful Break. I have like 6 cores left from the case I bought last Sunday. I'm saving them for this Sunday. It's fair. The mountains should be blue, so they should be cold. You should be in good shape.
I haven't even looked at my Los Angeles Rams Matthew Stafford Super Bowl jersey that's in my closet. I don't know if I should just leave it there and not touch it. Do I need to do something bad to it?
No, so that feels vindictive.
Do I need to buy another one to activate the curse?
No, somebody needs to buy you a jersey to activate the curse. I thought that's how it worked. I thought you getting.
I don't know.
Or no.
It was both.
Wait.
It was both.
Yeah.
Because someone bought me
A Jared Davis.
a Jared Davis jersey.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love for Jared Davis to be on this team. I wish he could be one of the guys that like part of the old guard.
The old guard.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought the. Some would say the jersey curse worked for Matthew Stafford because the 2022 season was a disaster. He had what was it, a neck injury, a hernia or something? I don't know. And
yeah.
I don't know what the Rams went last year, but it was bad.
He had a concussion too last year.
Yeah. Does it not carry over an extra year? Like, it's not like Jared Davis just had a bad year. Bruised spinal cord. That's right. I feel like maybe that jersey's still got a little bit of power in it, and like this is what I bought it for. It's for Sunday. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna wear it, but
yeah. Oh man. I was gonna say, do you have to like put it behind the Jared Davis jersey on the rack or something? I don't know.
I'm not gonna touch it. I'm not gonna look at it. I'm not gonna touch it. This
All
is
right,
the last time acknowledging it.
Done. I'm back on moon phases though from Woodchuck Hunter.
The
moon is on the same phase as it was when Lions last won a playoff game, by the way.
Yeah, Peyton. I saw Mike Payton tweeted that. Find the receipt. I mean, it's 21st century. Like, it's digital receipt. It's just an email.
So you have it.
I mean, probably, unless I deleted it.
Located. I do like Joshua Mercer's comment though, because there's like multiple layers to Lions players. Mercer says, and Gurley isn't playing anymore this year to leave Goff with CJ Anderson. So I think what you need to do is you need to buy a Lions CJ Anderson jersey. That's what. Can you get on the horn? Can you get one shipped to your house?
Not
by
just
Sunday?
a Kyron Williams jersey. That seems a lot simpler. I like the idea to hang it in a room where when you watch the game and trash talk to it. I'm just gonna bring it into the the press box. Not gonna, and just no one's gonna know what's going on, and I'm just gonna be talking shit to it, and everyone's gonna be thinking I'm crazy. And here's the thing: like in the press box,
it's ridiculous.
Like 70% of the time, the people right behind us are from the other team. They're like front office members from the other team. So if I'm just right in front of like Les Need, be like, "Fuck you, Matt Stafford, and you fucking want to get a trade out of here? Wouldn't stick through another rebuild."
Oh man, that's you and Eric got to keep your cool on Sunday.
Not a chance. Not a chance, Ryan. I was talking about this during the midweek mailbag, but
yeah,
when I get nervous, I have zero appetite, and my extremities get cold. My fingertips get cold. It like becomes hard for me to type. And I mean, I'm going to be like that way. We were talking about it before we went live. Like, I'm going to be that way from like 1 p.m. on.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Sunday at 8:00. I'm not looking forward to the rest of Sunday at all.
I'm also like pretty bummed that Packers Eagles is the game right before. If it was a 1 o'clock game, great distraction. I can just watch that all day.
Who's the game before?
I don't know.
Because you just said Packers Eagles.
I'm sorry, Packers.
Is it Packers Cowboys?
Cowboys is the 4:30 game. I don't know.
That's the game before. I don't want to watch that game.
I do want to watch that game. I want it to be at 1 to distract me, but like I'm going to be driving to the stadium in that game, and I want to watch that game, and I want
something to lighten the mood.
But if the Packers,
why could we get an AFC game?
I'm saying if the Packers win that game, that does lighten the mood. That's like, oh man, if we win this game, we're going to the NFC Championship, baby.
I don't know, dude. I feel like that it's going to happen no matter what. I think that this is the hardest game to clear.
Yeah. I mean, you think this would be harder than Dallas and Dallas?
Yeah. Because I've seen it. I just saw it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, but they lost. They lost that game.
And their offense, you know what? It was bad because they turned the ball over a couple times. They left points on the board.
It was also bad just because it was bad. I mean, they're a good defense. I don't know. Is it time to get out of here, chat?
I think so.
Let Ryan go home. Let Ryan go home. Please tell me you're driving to school. You're not staying at school this entire time until we go live, right?
Whole time. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
No. Because it was at 8 tonight, so I was like, I can go home.
Okay. That makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
All right, chat. We will be live one more time before the game. The Madden Sim will happen Saturday morning. There has been a Madden update, and the mod Discord has been freaking out, and they're not sure if the mod is going to work with a new update. So I have to check in on that. So it's up in the air whether we're going to have a modded Madden Sim or not. But either way, we will do it Saturday morning, 10 a.m., and then we're going to enjoy the rest of our Saturday watching some playoff football. And then I'll tell you what. If the Lions win, I'll see you Sunday night. If they don't win, I'll see you, I don't know, some other time.
Probably 48 hours.
Probably won't do it Monday night since there's a Monday night game. At that point, you're just out on the playoffs.
At that point, football doesn't matter to me anymore. Like, real quick, the last thing is like, it's gonna take so long to get into off-season mode if things don't play out the way they do on Sunday. To me, like,
but that's, I mean, that's the cruel part of this profession is that it happens in an instant.
Right.
It dawned on me today, like I may have just had the last Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn press conferences ever in Detroit.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Like think about that for a second. That's how sudden it becomes a routine in your life. every Thursday, and then it's done. It's gone. I might never see these people ever again.
Might have seen Jared Goff's last interview.
All right. With that
weird for Malik.
Weird, depressing thought, we will let you guys go. I'm guessing none of my friends. Oh, you know what? Bridget Case is live. I don't know what she's watching, but she's one of our favorite sports streamers. Talks a lot of sports. What in the world what sports are happening right now that it's worth streaming about? Unless she's just
NBA.
Like, maybe she's just talking about all the crazy shit that's. Oh, she's playing sport. Wait, did I just get? What happened? That was weird.
I'm with Joshua Mercer though.
It's a call-in NFL reaction show. So yeah, they're just talking about all the crazy shit that's happening. What are you with?
Joshua Mercer. It's all the things that we were saying. You know, Josh is saying it's impossible. We're winning. There's no alternative. Keep the faith. 100%.
There you go.
I'm redoing my list cast right now. Lions, most confident, number one.
They weren't. It's 5 other. All right. I'll let it slide. Guys, thank you so much. No, not prediction. Did I just do? Appreciate you all stopping by. Appreciate you, all of your support all season. You know what? I was about to go in a spiel that would make it sound like this might be the end. Nah. Thank you for following this exciting week of football. It's going to be less exciting next week because there aren't going to be that many great storylines for Lions Bucks. But either way,
same time, same place next week. We'll see you.
That's right. I like that succinctness. Bye, everybody. Go enjoy Bridget's stream. Talk some more football. Bye. No, stop. I don't like this sign off.